Welcome back to Special Educators Resource Room Podcast. This is Jennifer from Positively Learning. Today is episode 3. Well, actually, episode 182, but it's the third episode in our Special Educators Summer Series. Every week, I'll be on YouTube on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and showing up here on the podcast on Fridays. You can catch both of them at Positively Learning on YouTube. This free summer series is all about setting up an independent work system that feels very doable. We're taking these bite-sized steps each week, and we're setting up a system that's going to feel more sustainable all year round. We're in the tasks framework now. Last week was T for Think It Through, and your homework was to focus in on 3 skills for your students' independent work. You definitely want to check out the last episode so you know which skills to focus on. Today is the letter A, accessing materials. Well, actually, it's in reverse. What materials do you have access to? I want to start by being really clear about what this step is actually about, because it's not what I think most people will expect. When teachers hear access your materials, you might be thinking, we're going to go look at what task boxes and file folders you already have, doing an audit of your downloaded resources, seeing what's in your TPT folder, on your desktop, or Google Drive. But that is not this step. This access step of the tasks framework is about accessing the materials you will need to build out your independent work system. Task boxes are physical objects, and they have 2 parts. What goes inside them, the pieces that students actually touch and work with, and what holds them, the container, the bag, the envelope. These 2 parts are what makes it a task box instead of just a pile of stuff. Before we can build out a single task, we need both of these things. And one of the most common reasons I think we get stuck at this building stage is that we get to the point of sitting down to actually make the task box set. We know the skill, we have an idea, and then we realize we're missing something. We're missing one of these components. The access step is about identifying this before it becomes a problem. It really is all about taking inventory of what you already have access to. Let's start by talking about what components go inside the task box, the actual objects the student is going to touch and sort, count, or match to complete the task. Counting objects are probably the most versatile task component there is. What do you already have access to? Maybe it's inside your classroom. Counting bears, sorting chips, math cubes, anything a student can count, sort into groups, move from one place to another. If you have access to a math closet or a cabinet somewhere in your classroom or at the school, you likely already have a significant portion of your task components sitting in it. But if you're listening to this and thinking, that sounds great, but I haven't even started teaching yet, or there's no way I'm going to school during the summer. Valid point. Small objects that lend themselves to sorting and matching could be buttons in multiple colors and sizes, mini erasers, which can come in seasonal themes, and they're perfect for counting and sorting tasks. Do you have clothespins for clip tasks, pegs, craft pom-poms, foam shapes, craft sticks? What do you already have access to that can be repurposed into task components for multiple different skills? Coins are another one. Money tasks are common IEP goals, especially at the elementary and middle school levels, and coins are the component. Real coins could work. Plastic coins could work. Maybe there's a jar of change somewhere in your classroom or at home, and you have those task components. The filter for task components is always the same. Can this be used to practice one of those 3 skills you chose in the T portion of the tasks framework in the last episode? If yes, it belongs in your inventory. If no, it doesn't need to take up space in your task building supplies right now. The second side of this access step is to decide where's the task going to live. What are you going to use to contain the individual tasks? This is going to determine whether your finished task is actually going to survive in an independent work rotation. If the container is too hard for students to open or to know where things go, it's going to undermine the task every time a student uses it. So what are the options? You might have access to some of these, or you can gain access to them. Maybe it's an envelope, a regular envelope, a larger size envelope, a poly envelope. They can be very practical if they are durable because they lay flat on a shelf and students can slide the pieces in and out, and they close securely most of the time. Envelopes can come in multiple sizes, and I think it would be a good thing to try if you have access to them. Another idea is plastic storage bags, like the Ziploc kind. They can be really great for containing all the small, loose pieces. This is what I tried because I wasn't ready to invest in task boxes until I knew they were going to work for sure. And spoiler alert, I did end up upgrading to those colorful rainbow photo storage boxes that you see everywhere. It took about 1 month because I quickly saw that my students were obsessed with having their individual tasks. But we did start with the food storage bags, and they weren't as durable as a poly envelope for long-term repeated use, but for building a quick task or testing the format before committing to a more permanent solution, I think they're fine. Small plastic boxes and containers are my preference for housing tasks because they do keep everything all in one place. I mentioned I use the rainbow photo storage boxes, and here are 3 reasons I'm partial to them. One is that the lids open, but they do not detach from the container. If you could just imagine having a pile of lids, a pile of containers, pieces of task boxes everywhere, and trying to match them up. Enough said. They are also the easiest for my students to open, but that's going to be different from classroom to classroom. I did try out a lot of different containers like Dollar Tree containers, mix and match containers I already had in my house, and I found the rainbow storage boxes to be the best and the most durable. And then the last reason I loved them was that my students were obsessed with them. If you think it's fun to touch and stack all of those task boxes and hear that satisfying clicking sound when you close them, just imagine what your students will think. I love using filters when making important decisions. I find it helps me stay focused. And the 2 filters I recommend for this step of the tasks framework is number 1, ask yourself, is this container durable enough for repeated student use? And number 2, is it physically clear? Meaning a student can look at it and understand what's supposed to happen without you having to stop and explain it. If the task box itself requires an explanation every time, it's going to work against our clear start. We're going to come back to that next week. Now that you know both sides of this access step, here's how we're actually going to do it. I would set aside some time to go through materials, whether it's in your classroom, at your home, your car, anywhere teacher supplies end up, and write down what you have in both categories. For the component side, what do you have access to? Do you have any small objects? What's in the math cabinet, the science supply bin, the art supply drawer? We're just writing it down. You're not going to be gathering anything, curating it. You're just taking inventory. For the housing side, what containers do you already have? Do you have access to a large amount of bags or envelopes, bins or boxes? What size are they? How many do you have? Write it down. That's your homework for this week, to take inventory. But we also want to go back to last week's homework where you chose 3 skills. And now we're going to put them together. With what you've just taken inventory on, what you have access to, could you build at least one task for each of those skills? If the answer is yes, great. You are starting from a better place than most of us. If the answer is no for any of them, that's your gap. And that gap is going to be your specific list of things to gather. So instead of saying, I need more tasks or I need more supplies, now we can look at these 3 skills, look at your inventory and say, okay, I need counting bears in 2 different colors. I need a set of task boxes or poly envelopes in a medium size. We want to get that level of specific. Everything you need to start building without the overwhelm. Before we go, I want to say something about why this step exists where it does in the tasks framework, before we even talk about how to actually build a task. I feel that many teachers can get stuck in the task building phase, which is next week, And it often comes down to these two things. Number one, not sure what we're building towards, which was that think it through step we've already done. So we fixed that. Or you're ready to build, you sit down and you realize you don't have what you need. The supply audit that we just did today, that closes that second gap. It means that when you get to next week's episode, which is all about what makes a task actually work for independent use, you're going to be ready to start building the moment you understand what you're building towards. No extra trips, no waiting for Amazon, just building. So your homework this week is to go do the audit. Take inventory. Write down both sides. What's going to go inside the task box and where is the task going to live? And make a specific list to get what's missing. Now, don't get it yet because we still have next week's episode, but you're just making that list. So it's a little less than we think. It's a little less overwhelming, I hope. I'm so excited about this. I feel like I can talk about this all day long. But for now, please make sure you're following on YouTube at Positively Learning. You can watch the video and you can catch the podcast over there. Or make sure you're subscribing to the podcast so you don't miss a thing. I can't wait to talk to you next week. We're going to be going over step S in the tasks framework, which is set the stage. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll catch you next time in the Special Educators Resource Room. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'm dying to ask, what'd you think? Be sure to hit the follow or subscribe button so that you never miss an episode. You can find the show notes and links for everything mentioned in this episode at positivelylearningblog.com. See you next week for more special education solutions.